Welcome to Beth's Happy Home. I thought you might enjoy a tour of the food storage area of my storage room. So this is in the basement of our home, and there is a certain organization to it that I think is rather smart. So I will show you how I've got this arranged. If you go back toward the very back corner and the least accessible area, you're going to find all of these buckets that are inconvenient to get into, and they're not that accessible, and there's a reason for that, and that's because they are the newest of the things that I have bought for our food storage. We've got wheat way back there in the corner that I bought just a couple of months ago, and then there are oats, and there are beans, there are lentils, and garbanzo beans and brown rice, and all of those things are fairly new purchases, and so within the last year. So they have a shelf life of 20 years or so. They don't need to be disturbed for a long time unless we need them. So they don't need to be rotated, and I'm keeping them back there. But on this side, we've got food storage that is getting really old. Some of it is more than 20 years old. And so we've got it stacked on these shelves so that we can get to it really easily and start rotating it out. Some of these, and so we have them arranged in the same order with the wheat right there that needs to be eaten right away. That the next time I am low on my upstairs in my upstairs bucket, I'll come and get some of that wheat and bring it up, dump it in. Oats, rice, and then the milk also that needs to be eaten next, used next. It's stored where it's quite accessible, right here on the shelf, whereas the newer stuff is right down there. And so it's accessible. I can find it if I need to do it, but hopefully it will be just fine stored that way for a good long time. Then, as we move forward, I've got things that I need more access to. I don't store as much sugar as I do grains and things, and I use these, and so I wait for them to go on sale, and then I replace them. So here I've got brown sugar, and I need to find this sometimes when I'm ready to bake something, and so I'll use that until I have just a case left, and then I'll buy a new case and replace the stuff that is that I've used up. Then I've got the white sugar, same story, more white sugar there, but as soon as it goes on sale, I will buy some new stuff and then rotate that through. The sugar, incidentally, it obviously is still in its original packaging. It does not need to be put into a can. There's nothing that really bothers sugar. It doesn't degrade, it doesn't change, it doesn't spoil, and so you're okay just storing it the way that it is as long as it's not on the cement itself. It's up on a shelf, so there's air rotation. It's not going to get wet down there, and so it'll be fine for years. Just like that, but I will use it up as we go. Then over on this side we have canned goods. So we've got canned beans down there just for the convenience sake, and so that's why I keep them in this part so that they're usable. The canned goods have a shorter shelf life, and so we keep them where we can easily rotate them. These are the soups up here, and then pasta sauces when I need something convenient, and tomato products, and then my canned tomatoes. I want to get through all of these this year because I expect another big crop from my tomato plants this year, and I want to can those freshly. And then more tomato products. The ones that are commercially canned, I don't worry about them getting a little older than the ones that I can myself. I would prefer to rotate through those. So I keep them handy toward the front. There's canned fruit down there. And then over here, I have the pasta. Now, some of the pasta is canned in the in the regular number 10 cans. That's macaroni and spaghetti. And there's some rotini in some of those cans and in some of those Mylar bags. And those I will leave alone. They will last a long time stored that way. But some of these other commercially packaged things are not really packaged for long-term storage. And so I leave them accessible where I can get to them. And then when I replace them, I can rotate them really easily. I have our entire year's supply of salt stored right here in the front. I've actually never gotten into it, but salt is even more long-term storage, permanent. You can store it forever and it's not going to change, just like that. So that's in a bucket in the bottom, and then I've got two 25-pound bags that are more than a year's supply of salt right there. And so I just keep it there because it's going to be fine. I want to know where it is in case we need it, but it fit in that little corner, so that's why it gets to live there. Then as we back up a little bit farther, we have a shelf that has things that are accessible for immediate use. And so as soon as I run out of taco seasoning, I have it right handy, and then the cocoa powder, Parmesan cheese, things like that I just don't want to store in my pantry, but I want to keep a good supply of. I keep really handy near the entrance to the room. And then over here, I keep things like cold cereal, the maple syrup, you know, some of the paper goods that I just want to rotate through, not necessarily have for the long-term storage sake. And then some quinoa that I like in the smaller packages to just eat through it, but not necessarily have it in a great big storage bin that I have to dig into every time. Chocolate chips, and there's some wheat gluten back there for bread making, and then other appliances I keep handy here in the front. And then luxury items like juices I keep down there, just so that they're not in my way, but they're really not intended for long-term storage. They're short-term storage. I also have a little bit of, they've rearranged my furniture. I've got company that is using the room that's adjacent to this. Anyway, I keep 5 gallons of water in this room, but then I'll show you where I keep the rest of my water storage, because that's an important part of storage as well. Here's our water storage area. It's in our garage in kind of this little bump out area. And you can see we have them tucked under this little desk that is a little bit raised. And then we have the openings near the front so that we can open them using one of these bucket wrenches. This is just a little cast aluminum bucket wrench, but it has this little toothed wrench part of it on there that fits in this bung, and then you can open your water by twisting it like that. But each of these big drums was stored with a couple of tablespoons of chlorine bleach in them, just to keep them really clean in storage. And then when I open them, I will let the water sit a little bit if they have any hint of a chlorine odor. And just the chlorine will evaporate out really quickly. So they are, the water should be fine in there. I've had to use it after it's been in there for a year or more, and it tasted fine, especially after it was allowed to sit in the air just a little bit. I also keep one of these siphon pumps with them all the time so that I can slip this end down and siphon out the water as I need it. So it's easy to access, and I recommend that you have plenty of water stored between these 3 55-gallon drums, the little bit of water that I have in the food storage area, as well as a 50-gallon water tank. We have well over 200 gallons stored, and that should be more than enough for a 2-week emergency for 2 people or even 3 people. That we might have an extra person or 2 staying with us, but that's where we keep our water. And I hope that you will subscribe to Beth's Happy Home, because I am working hard to give you important information about being prepared and having a happy home yourself. Thanks for watching.